It's an announcement from Governor Bullock's office that will allow, under strict guidelines, visitors to nursing homes. I'm Cody Boyer here in Gallatin County with just how they're managing to do that.
Concerns there will be a spike in fireworks injuries this year. I'm Elise Preston with a look at what you need to know to stay safe.
Coming up on 6:30 now. It is Friday. It's going to be a beautiful day out there. Maybe not yet in West Yellowstone, but everywhere else, it's going to be a beautiful day.
I think it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. It's just an annoyance as you're driving.
Yeah,
West Yellowstone dealing with some
hairy
fog.
Turn on the lighthouse.
Yeah. That's about it. Some dense fog out toward West Yellowstone this morning. They picked up some heavy rain yesterday. Some of those low-lying areas that did pick up rain may have some fog early on. Most of the area into the upper 40s to low 50s. Not much showing on satellite and radar, and shouldn't for most of the day. Lots of sunshine on tap for us as you head into the afternoon. Our daytime high should be into the mid to upper 80s today and tomorrow. Tomorrow could pack quite a punch with some evening showers and thunderstorms. We're going to break it all down for you, of course, in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you, Matt. I don't really want to say what I'm about to say here, but the year is already halfway over, and it's time to start thinking about winter.
Yeah, well, it's
Question
true.
mark?
I know, question mark. And now as we get closer to the second half of the year, doctors are already preparing to deal with the coronavirus and the flu at the same time. Still no vaccine for coronavirus yet, but doctors say advancing technology will help them out, at least when it comes to testing.
You know, earlier on in the season, we were running out of influenza tests along with other test kits. So we're going to try to make sure we have plenty of influenza test kits. And there have been a lot of progress in terms of testing for COVID too. So we're going to have a kit that will test for both of them at the same time.
Dr. Winston says because the symptoms of the coronavirus and the flu are very similar, the only way to know the difference would be through testing.
An announcement from Governor Steve Bullock's office rolls back regulations for visiting family members in nursing homes. There are still strict rules to follow to help keep the coronavirus from reaching those most vulnerable. MTN's Cody Boyer visited a local senior care center and has this report.
For many, since the beginning of COVID-19, visiting their loved ones at nursing homes, senior care centers has been arguably one of the most difficult parts because they can't until today.
Being able to sit down, you just can't do that through a window.
Unless you are a healthcare or hospice worker, visiting fathers, mothers, grandfathers, and grandmothers has been nearly impossible. While some have found a way to try, in the eyes of Highlight Country Care Administrator Leanne Bunn, it's been necessary but hard.
Having no visitors is really challenging, especially for those that are used to seeing their family members on a regular basis. The emotional health is almost just as much or more important at this age than physical health.
According to the governor's updated directive, there are now options. Senior and assisted living facilities may now allow visitors, effective immediately, if the facility has given notice of the recommended safeguards to residents and family members. Bunn looks to creative ideas to follow all of these.
Having family members wear masks outside, having that 6-foot distance would be absolutely totally beneficial.
Which her residents have already done, just without visitors. They've taken up gardening, including the flowers out front, and visiting with Bunn's friendly animals. And just this week, the Compassion Project stopped by, sidewalk chalk in hand.
The residents just lit up. They just brought so much color and so much joy. Just made them feel special.
All ideas that worked, but not the same as family visiting family, not through a window. Bunn says this is good news.
There's so many little things that make it so much easier to provide good quality care, and these people don't know. It's almost seamless except for being able to see the families.
In Bozeman, Cody Boyer, MTN News.
6:33 now. The Gallatin Valley Food Bank was in Belgrade yesterday with a first-time food distribution there for free. Volunteers with the food bank partnered up with HRDC, offered people who just heard about the distribution farmers feeding family boxes, which are provided through the U.S. Department of Agriculture and the Coronavirus Relief Act. There were 150 boxes, each weighing 25 pounds and holding a gallon of milk, cooked meats, produce, and other dairy products, all previously donated. Only question for each interested family was, how many are in your household and where they were from? Now, food bank volunteers say it's part of an effort to help hundreds of families each week.
Belgrade is a community with lots of folks who could use some extra help, and especially during this time of the COVID-19. And we're just really happy to be able to to share this produce and other good stuff around.
While there will not be any deliveries next week, the Gallatin Valley Food Bank plans to start doing more free food distributions in July on a weekly basis.
6:34 now. In the age of COVID-19, we're forced to plan ahead for lots of things we once considered everyday activities. So how about a COVID-friendly road trip? Here are some tips if you're hitting the road this summer.
AAA is expecting the Great American Road Trip to make a big comeback this summer, but be sure to think about COVID-19 if this is in your plans. Bring face coverings, gloves, thermometers, and cleaning supplies. Don't just think about where you're heading, but where you're passing through. That way you can avoid hotspots. Gas stations are open, but some rest stops, restaurants, and attractions may be closed or only allowing limited capacity.
A lot of places are requiring reservations. The last thing you want to do is get somewhere and you're not going to be allowed in because you don't have that reservation because you haven't called ahead or you haven't done your research.
AAA also recommends you reach out to your hotel to learn if any new guidelines are in place and perhaps use the cleaning supplies you pack in your room.
Yes, they've been cleaned and there are extra protocols in place for sanitation. For peace of mind, wipe down those high traffic areas when you get into your room. Light switches, faucets, lamps, and of course the remote control.
And you can find help for planning road trips on AAA's website. They also have a COVID-19 travel restriction app.
Back here at home, it's been more than a year. The Bogart Pavilion of Shell still sits behind chain link fence, but you may have noticed its renovation has begun. Pavilion, which will be renamed the Anderson Pavilion at Bogart Park once it's completed, partially collapsed 2 winters ago under record snowfall. At that time, engineers with the city of Bozeman said several beams had also rotted, but now the new beams are beginning to show up. According to the city's strategic services director, construction will begin July 1st, with crews working from 7 in the morning until 5:30 in the evening, Monday through Thursdays. As part of the parking lot will also be used for equipment, but otherwise minimal disruption is expected. New shell is aimed to be finished by September 18th and will be up to current building standards at that time.
Beginning in October, Amtrak will reduce service on long-distance routes nationwide, including stops in northern Montana. Amtrak announced the decision to operate with reduced capacity due to the long-term impacts of COVID-19 on ridership. Amtrak's Empire Builder line will cut service from 7 days a week to just 3. The popular long-distance line stops in 12 stations in Montana. Amtrak also announced a proposal to cut 20% of its employees. Amtrak officials say their goal is to restore daily service on these routes by summer of 2021.
Well, with many annual fireworks canceled around the country because of the pandemic, health experts are worried there will be more injuries as people try to put on their own shows. Elise Preston has more on what you need to know to stay safe.
Josh Baker knows the dangers of fireworks all too well, working as a firefighter EMT in Central Florida. 4 years ago, he lost his thumb after a mortar exploded in his hand.
It was pointing towards the whole group of people. I just reached down to pick it up.
With fireworks shows around the country canceled due to the pandemic, safety officials are concerned there will be a spike in firework injuries this summer. An Orlando health survey found 2 out of 5 Americans are planning home displays. Many say the coronavirus prompted them to buy fireworks for the first time.
Burns and abrasions to the eyes that can result in blindness. A lot of people suffer eardrum rupture just from the boom of the firework exploding.
Orthopedic surgeon Dr. Elizabeth Gibson has treated patients injured by fireworks.
You can have fractures, you can have digits that are no longer attached to the hands. So they can be really devastating injuries.
10,000 people were treated in the emergency room for fireworks-related injuries last year.
12 people also died, according to the Consumer Product Safety Commission. If you plan to use fireworks, never let young children play or light fireworks, including sparklers. They can burn at 2,000 degrees. Never try to relight or pick up a firework that is malfunctioning, and have a bucket of water or hose nearby just in case. Josh has had more than 15 surgeries. Doctors attached his big toe to where his thumb used to be.
And it can happen in a blink of an eye. And sometimes you won't be as lucky as I am, and it'll change your life forever.
He hopes others get the message and leave fireworks to the professionals. Elise Preston, CBS News.
And it's also important to make sure fireworks are legal where you live and only purchase fireworks that are for consumer use not professional use. That's a good piece of advice.
So that is very good advice. I'm still a little hung up on the toe thing, though.
10,000 injuries, 12 deaths last year, all of them completely preventable.
Yeah.
Just do the right thing every time.
Always important to remember because, you know, we love our fireworks here. We're able to set them up, but be safe about it.
Absolutely true. We don't want you to be a headline. We want to keep you as a viewer.
Exactly. 6:39 now. Up next on Montana This Morning, the CDC is changing its list of who is most at risk for the coronavirus. Who joins that list, who gets a break is coming up. But first, here's a look at what's coming up at 7 on CBS This Morning.
Coming up, what the CDC is saying about the real number of U.S. coronavirus infections. We report from 3 states experiencing major spikes, plus eye-opening conversations with white Americans about racism. Coming up on CBS This Morning.